She wasn't even supposed to be queen. But during World War II, Lilian Bales stepped into the palace and into a secret marriage that would shake the Belgian monarchy. What followed was a lifetime of jewels, controversy, and quiet power behind the throne. This uncrowned queen built a jewelry collection that quietly rivaled crowned royals, and when she died, her treasures scattered in ways that would shock the royal world. In this video, we'll uncover the extraordinary story of a woman who wore grandeur without a throne. You'll discover how a secretary from Belgium became one of Europe's most influential royal figures, see the spectacular jewels she accumulated over 5 decades, and learn the shocking truth about what happened to her collection after her death in 2002. But first, let me tell you about the moment that changed everything. The wartime romance that scandalized a nation. The story begins not with diamonds, but with danger. It's 1940, and Belgium has fallen to the Nazis. King Leopold III sits under house arrest in his own palace, while their nation suffers under occupation. Into this chaos steps a young woman named Mary Lilian Bales. She's 24 years old, volunteering with the Red Cross, driving wounded soldiers to safety through dangerous territory. When her father needs to clear his name with the king after false accusations, it's Lilian who drives him through enemy lines to reach the royal palace. And it's during these wartime trials that King Leopold begins to notice the calm, capable young woman by his side. By 1941, Leopold is a widower. His beloved Queen Astrid died tragically in 1935. And he's desperately lonely under house arrest. Queen Mother Elizabeth, sensing her son's involvement with an unsuitable mistress, invites Lilian to visit the palace, hoping to divert Leopold's attention. The plan works better than anyone imagined. Through quiet meetings, often chaperoned by Queen Elizabeth herself, Leopold and Lilian fall deeply in love. For Leopold, Lilian is a bright light in a dark time, a compassionate companion who brings comfort to a king in captivity. When he proposes in July 1941, Lilian faces an impossible choice. She loves Leopold, but she foresees the storm of controversy marriage would bring. At 24, she feels inadequate to succeed the adored Queen Astrid in the people's hearts, but love conquers fear. On September 11, 1941, they marry in secret in the palace chapel, a religious ceremony that actually violates Belgian law, which requires civil marriage first. When news breaks, the backlash is swift and fierce. One newspaper scolds, "Sire, we thought you had your face turned towards us in mourning. Instead, you had it hidden in the shoulder of a woman." But the real scandal: Adolf Hitler himself sends flowers to congratulate the couple, a propaganda coup that horrifies the Belgian public. Lilian is vilified by underground press and exiled politicians. She's branded a social climber, an illegal bride, even accused of tarnishing Astrid's memory. Pamphlets and graffiti attack her character, painting her as a scheming opportunist. Yet within the palace walls, Leopold and Lilian find real joy together. In July 1942, Princess Lilian gives birth to their first child, Prince Alexandre, and Leopold's face lights up with happiness. But their tranquility won't last. The jewelry collection begins. If the public rejected her, the royal vaults welcomed her with open arms. Soon after their marriage, King Leopold presents Lilian with her first major jewel, a magnificent emerald and diamond brooch by Cartier. This isn't just any brooch. It features a large, square-cut emerald at its center with interlacing diamond loops and 3 emerald teardrop pendants dangling below. Originally from an Austrian imperial collection, its grandeur suits Lilian's taste for drama perfectly. She pins this sizable brooch to the bodice of her gowns, the emerald drops shimmering as she moves. It becomes her armor, a glittering declaration that she belongs in this world of royalty, regardless of public opinion. As Lilian settles into royal life, she begins building what will become one of Europe's most spectacular jewelry collections. There's the Cartier diamond flower tiara, an Art Deco masterpiece that can be worn as a tiara or dismantled into brooches. She memorably sports the diamond flower pinned to a stylish hat at her stepdaughter's wedding in 1953, and wears the full tiara to the spectacular royal ball opening Brussels' 1958 World's Fair. European royalty in attendance cannot miss the statement. Lilian carries on the glittering tradition of the Belgian monarchy, even without a crown. But here's what makes her collection truly extraordinary. For nearly a decade, from the early 1950s until 1960, Lilian serves as Belgium's unofficial First Lady. King Baudouin is young and unmarried, so Lilian presides over state functions, wearing the most magnificent pieces in the royal collection. She appears in Queen Astrid's spectacular emerald tiara and matching necklace, the very jewels that once belonged to Leopold's late wife. Most strikingly, she sometimes dons the colossal 9 provinces tiara, the diamond diadem reserved for Belgian queens. Seeing her wear the same towering tiara that Queen Astrid had worn as a bride is bittersweet for the public. To admirers, it proves Lilian's regal bearing. To critics, it smacks of presumptuousness. But Lilian's time as unofficial queen is about to end. The Crown Jewels controversy. In 1960, everything changes. King Baudouin marries Doña Fabiola de Mora y Aragon, a Spanish noblewoman who becomes Belgium's new queen. The arrival of Queen Fabiola sets the stage for a formidable rivalry between two very different women. Lilian has been effectively the leading lady of the palace for nearly a decade. Fabiola is determined to step into her rightful role as queen. Almost immediately, tension simmers. Shortly after Baudouin and Fabiola return from their honeymoon, Leopold and Lilian abruptly move out of Laeken Palace. They relocate to Argenteuil, a country estate outside Brussels, effectively ceding the official royal residence to the new king and queen. This move surprises the public and is widely interpreted as the result of a bitter family schism. Years of bitter estrangement followed, the press reports. But here's the shocking part. When Lilian leaves Laeken, she takes with her truckloads of furniture, artworks and jewelry that she considers her property. This likely includes pieces from Leopold's personal collection, some of which originally belonged to Queen Astrid or Queen Elizabeth. The two women maintain a frosty relationship for decades. At Leopold's funeral in 1983, observers note the two women stand on either side of the coffin, not exchanging a word. The estrangement that begins in 1960 never truly heals. But exile from the center of royal power doesn't diminish Lilian, instead, it transforms her. The medical legacy that defined her. Exiled from the center of royal power, Lilian finds a new calling that will define her legacy far more than any tiara ever could. In the late 1950s, a personal crisis becomes the catalyst for her life's major charitable work. Her son, Prince Alexandre, is born with a heart condition that by 1957 becomes life-threatening. Lilian arranges for an advanced operation in Boston, at that time a daring move, as infant heart surgery is still rare and dangerous. The operation saves Alexandre's life, and this brush with tragedy profoundly affects Lilian. Grateful and inspired, she establishes the Princess Lilian Cardiological Foundation in 1958, aiming to improve treatment for cardiovascular diseases. She quietly funds countless Belgian children with heart defects to travel abroad for life-saving surgeries, just as her son had. In 1961, she proudly inaugurates a new cardiac research laboratory at the Saint-Pierre Hospital in Brussels, standing shoulder to shoulder with doctors in her elegant suit and hat. At Argenteuil, Leopold and Lilian foster something of a cultural and intellectual salon. They cultivate friendships with prominent writers, philosophers, and researchers. Dinner at Argenteuil might include lively debates on art, mathematics, or the latest medical innovations. This is a role in which Lilian truly shines, the gracious hostess and learned patroness, engaging great minds in conversation by day and hosting musical recitals by night. In 1962, the Royal College of Physicians in London makes her an honorary fellow for her contributions to medical research, a rare honour for a royal consort. In the 1970s, when Leopold's health begins to fail, Lilian becomes his tireless caregiver at Argenteuil. Leopold himself gives credit where it's due, publicly thanking Lilian for having shared his joys and sorrows and for helping him bring up his children by Queen Astrid with devotion and tenderness. But when Leopold dies in 1983, Lilian faces her greatest challenge yet. The jewellery's final journey. After King Leopold III passes away in 1983, Princess Lilian finds herself in a singular role, the keeper of his legacy. Leopold's death is a final heartbreak. They had been married for over 40 years. At his funeral, Lilian walks in heavily veiled mourning attire, supported by King Baudouin and Queen Fabiola. It's one of the few times the public sees these two women so close together, albeit united by grief. But what happens to those magnificent jewels that had defined her public image for 5 decades? The answer is both shocking and heartbreaking. After Leopold's death, Lilian begins selling pieces from her collection. In 1987, she sells Queen Elizabeth's Cartier tiara back to Cartier, a stunning Art Deco masterpiece that had been one of her most recognizable pieces. Then, in 2003, a year after Lilian's death, comes the moment that jewellery historians will never forget. Sotheby's Amsterdam announces a spectacular auction. Fit for a princess, jewels and couture from the collection of the late Her Royal Highness, Princess Lilian of Belgium, and various owners. The sale features 372 lots of her personal effects, jewellery, art, furniture, and other valuable items. It's the dispersal of a life lived in the spotlight, now scattered to private collectors around the world. Among the pieces sold are some of her most personal treasures. The Coquette emerald brooch that Leopold gave her during their darkest wartime days. Art Deco bracelets that had graced her wrists at state banquets. Pearl necklaces that had been her signature for decades. But here's the mystery that haunts royal jewellery enthusiasts to this day. Not everything was sold. Some pieces simply vanished from public view. Where did they go? Did family members keep certain treasures? Were some pieces too personal, too meaningful to sell? Today, we catch glimpses of Lilian's legacy in unexpected places. Queen Camilla has been seen wearing what appears to be one of Lilian's Art Deco bracelets, creating an unexpected bridge between the Belgian and British royal families. The uncrowned queen's eternal legacy. Princess Lilian's story reminds us that behind every glittering jewel lies a human story of love, loss, and resilience. She never wore a crown, but she carried herself like a queen through a life that demanded both courage and grace. Her jewellery collection, from the emerald brooch that symbolised Leopold's love to the medical foundation that became her true legacy, tells the story of a woman who transformed controversy into compassion. Today, the Princess Lilian Cardiological Foundation continues its work, saving lives and advancing medical research. It's a legacy more lasting than any diamond, more precious than any pearl. When we see Queen Camilla wearing one of Lilian's pieces, we're witnessing more than fashion. We're seeing how one woman's complicated legacy continues to influence royal style decades after her death. Lilian, Princess of Rethie, remains one of the most polarizing and fascinating women in Belgian royal history. In truth, She was a complicated blend of both saint and sinner, a woman who undeniably enjoyed the luxuries of royal life, yet endured great sacrifice and hostility for the man she loved. In the final measure, Lilian's life is a testament to the power of love and the price of ambition. She never wore a crown, but she carried herself like a queen through a life that demanded both courage and grace. Despite never being officially a queen, she found a way to leave an indelible mark on Belgian royal history. Controversial, yes, but also undeniably compelling. But there's one piece of Lilian's collection that I haven't told you about. A mysterious tiara that disappeared from public view for over 40 years, only to resurface in the most unexpected place, worn by a member of the British royal family. The story involves secret negotiations, a desperate royal family, and a jewelry mystery that wasn't solved until 2019. Watch my next video to discover the shocking story of the lost Belgian tiara that's been hiding in plain sight. Which part of Princess Lilian's extraordinary story fascinated you the most? Was it her wartime romance, her spectacular jewelry collection, or her transformation into one of Europe's most respected medical philanthropists? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into royal history and the hidden stories behind the world's most magnificent jewels, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the extraordinary life of Princess Lilian, the uncrowned queen who proved that true royalty comes not from a title, but from the grace with which we face life's greatest challenges.